Hello, hello, my beloved waking gods and goddesses. Welcome to Love, Truth, and Beauty, episode 267, our 34th installation of Love, Truth, and Beauty Quickie Kiss. Keep it simple, sexy, mwah, rant. Actually, this is not so much a rant, but it is a share of my recent experience with acute carbon monoxide poisoning. Oh yes, of which I am still currently recovering. Now, we have not discovered the source, we as in me and my guy, Christopher, nor do we know what the fuck exactly happened, but I feel I would be remiss not sharing my Mundo bizarro experience, perhaps from all my research, to bring to awareness this silent killer. Apparently that's its nickname. Holy shit. Who knew? And apparently well deserved. Now, before I get into the deets, I will have to give you some background, because in 1995, I was actually visiting a friend in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who shared an old brick building with some roommates on one of the main drags that led in and out of town, with giant 18-wheelers, Roman riding past all day and all night. Now, luckily, my friend's section of the building was on the other side, the opposite side of the road. So we were away from a lot of the noise and a lot of the dirt. Now, I was visiting during a very significant heat wave, and of course, there was no AC, no air conditioning, only fans and open windows and giant bug zappers for all the flies and skeeters and buglets that roamed the rooms. They were all there freely. Now, the place was sooty, blackened with all sorts of road grime and pollution, and everyone smoked, except for me. Now, long story short, I ended up getting hospitalized for carbon monoxide poisoning. I mean, I was sick as fuck. Now, I later learned from my friend that when she first moved in, now this is kind of amazing, she had stomach and intestinal problems for the first 3 years that she lived there. Okay? And this, along with headaches and migraines, was the consensus reality of her other building mates. And they were all artists. Now, no one even suspected carbon monoxide poisoning until I had to be hospitalized. Now, mind you, these folks were major stoners and drinkers. I mean, it was pretty much a party building. And it turns out there were issues with the furnace and all sorts of building code violations. And if it had been in California, there was some shit that would have gone down. That building would have gotten shut down. But alas, I seem to be recalling a horrible fire recently that swept through a building in, through a bunch of artists in Alameda. Okay, I don't even know why I went on that tangent. But nonetheless, this landlord was very, very negligent and was a cheapskate. And these grunge artists needed a cheap place to live and to create art, so it was a match made. Okay, so bottom line, I was somewhat familiar with carbon monoxide poisoning, most of which I recalled to mimic nasty food poisoning or the stomach flu with the nausea, vomiting, dizziness, sleepiness, but it didn't occur to me this time around last week. So fast forward 27 years, give or take, an already hot morning up in the hot desert mountains, 100+ degrees to be expected. The air conditioning is on in my man's fancy modern home. He's already out and about. And earlier, my man had washed and deep conditioned my hair with one of those fancy masks. Yes, look how gorgeous it is, but this is, yeah, what? It's neither here nor there. I'm just going on. So anyways, I had my locks piled up on top of my head. So at about 10 a.m., this was last Thursday, I'm having the rest of my coffee and bopping around between creating my latest YouTube thumbnail for Tuesday's scheduled video, which is today, by the way, because I'm filming on Tuesday, and playing the piano. I'm practicing the piano intro and outro to Tori Amos's song Precious. Okay, so that's the setup. Now, I was getting ready to shut down the computer to go up and wash out the mask out of my hair when I started feeling like suddenly very nauseous, and suddenly the coffee was not tasting all that good. So I was checking out my thumbnails and just correcting myself and realized I had misspelled a whole bunch of words. And then I noticed like my vision was blurry. So I started feeling chilly and weirdly achy. You know, it's like when you're starting to get the flu, my spine was hurting and burning, like up and down my spine. And anyway, so I closed down the computer and started going up the stairs. And while I was going up the stairs, he's got the staircase that sort of winds around. I literally couldn't pick up my legs because my muscles were all of a sudden heavily fatigued. I had no strength. And then my back, my neck, and my shoulders started like burning. Like it felt like somebody had taken a flame and just kind of lit those things. And I started feeling like I was going to puke. So now, mind you, my hair is wet. I'm a little chilly. I'm freezing. So I go into the guest bathroom with all my girly stuff and started the shower. Now, as I wait for the water to get hot, I'm starting to retch. You know, when you're dry heaving, and yikes, dudes, I fucking hate puking. It is not my thing. It's not my thing. So I get into the shower and I realize that I have to literally sit on the floor, the tub floor, as I can't stand very steadily because I'm starting to get the spins. And I'm thinking, dude, the last thing you want to do is fall through the plate glass. Yeah, let's just pass on that. So I rinse my hair and I somehow make it out of the shower and the tub and manage to put on clothes. And I hear my guy announce that he's home and he's working on his new motorcycle in the garage. And what was I up to? I made some smart-ass retort, which I always do. I told him I was dealing with my hair and made some sex joke. He laughed, telling me that I was going to wear him out. Ha, ha, ha. And I heard the garage door slam before I could tell him what was going on. Now, I started to go down the stairs, but I literally didn't have the energy to go down the stairs carefully because I realized I was going to fall because by that time I was really spinning out. Now, fighting nausea the whole time, I managed to get my hair relatively dry before my arms gave out. You know how you're holding the dryer? I literally couldn't do that. It was just, it felt like a 10-ton weight. And I was staggering and shaking from feeling like I was freezing cold. So I crawled into bed and tried to get warm. And when a massive wave of nausea overcame me, I ran into the bathroom just in time to projectile vomit. I mean, we're talking all over the place, all over the guest bath, over some of my girly stuff. Yuck, I know, very, very unglamorous. And I'm the kind of chica who's gonna fucking clean up after herself immediately because, you know, that's just messed up. So I'm thinking, what the fuck is wrong with me? And so I'm checking in with my inner homeopath. I have a background in homeopathy. So I'm thinking Nux vomica, Carbo Vegetalis, EPAC. I only had Nux vomica at his house. So I went rummaging around for stuff, found some in my bag, went to bed, took a dose, and started passing out. Now, mind you, as a side note, Nux vomica is an excellent general remedy for poisoning. The food kind, the alcohol kind, and the tobacco kind. And I have to say that in the back of my nose, I kind of, you know, that stale tobacco-y burnt smell? Yeah, that was there. Now, I vaguely heard my guy come back into the house and talk to me from the ground floor. And dudes, it literally took every fiber of my being to will myself to wake up, get conscious enough to shout out to him and tell him that I was feeling very unwell. And you know, I'm not well when my voice, my loud ass voice, doesn't carry for shit, right? Okay, so he comes up, he wraps himself around me, the sweet little baby. I try to relay my experience thus far. I'm shaking. He then wraps me in a sleeping bag. I take another dose of Nux. He took my temperature, which at the time was 98.3. I generally run hot. And then in 20 minutes, it jumped to 101.8. Now, was that from warming up in the sleeping bag, from being ill? I mean, who the fuck knows? I had to get up to puke again and return to bed, and I was feeling much worse. The kind of sick where you think you're gonna die and you wanna die just to make it stop. So I passed out, and he sometime later apparently had left, ran up the stairs and woke me up, opening all the doors, and told me he had turned on the stove burner to make some lunch and noticed the flame was burning orange. And then he checked on all of them and they were all burning orange. Now, apparently, that is a sign of carbon monoxide presence and a combustion issue, okay? No lie, okay? Holy fuck. So no food poisoning, hella weird. And within 30 minutes of him opening all the doors, I felt more like myself and okay enough to move about so that we could leave the house, brave the heat, and go out and buy some carbon monoxide monitors. Now, my temperature finally came down that evening and hovered around 102 until about 5 p.m. when it dropped to 99.8. It was within normal range by Friday morning, and my fatigue was over. I'm struggling right now with weird skin rashes that are very unusual for me, like itchy, bumpy kind of stuff. So perhaps there's a detox going on there. I took the Nux 3 times. It did help with my nausea, but not with the fatigue and not with just the feeling of disorientation and feeling like I wasn't quite out there. Now, when we returned with the monitors, the burners were back to burning blue. Now, besides Christopher running his motorcycle in the garage, which was adjacent to the kitchen, in between the time he came home and the first time he came up to check me out, after I told him I wasn't feeling all that well, there were no other possible sources of carbon monoxide other than perhaps a water heater, which was local to us. So it's a mystery, kids. Now, even as I recount my previous carbon monoxide poisoning experience, it would have never occurred to me to consider carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, how fortuitous it was that Christopher got hungry and started to make lunch, and while eating pita bread, noticed the burners burning orange. Okay, and my hot Mr. Fix-It knows the shit, knows that it should be burning blue while I was asleep, passed out. And you know what? I think about it, perhaps I would have never woken up. So kids, what's the lesson? Get some carbon monoxide monitors, my loves. Do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your pets. Often the pets get sick first. Funnily enough, Christopher joked, honey, you were a canary in a coal mine today. And apparently I'm not ready to go because I still got a lot of shit to do. Okay, my loves, that is my speech. I hope this is helpful. So be kind to yourselves. Pay attention to what's going on in your house, in your environment. And so until we meet again, kids, here's to your love, truth, and beauty. Thanks for tuning in. Mwah!